I was just reaching for the same designer handbag at the boutique counter when Vanessa Blake, the so-called class beauty, snatched it right out from under my hand with that annoyingly smug grin of hers and announced loud enough for everyone around to hear, "A poor girl like you wouldn't be able to afford this bag, even if you sold your soul. Unlike me, I'm the future daughter-in-law of the wealthiest family in Westbridge. With this limitless black card, I could buy your whole life if I wanted to." I blinked.
Huh?
Did my parents suddenly have a secret son I didn't know about? Because last time I checked, I was still an only child. Was the certificate I had proving I was the sole heir just some kind of prop? Before I could fully process the absurdity of her statement, my phone buzzed. A notification popped. UPA purchase using a secondary card linked to my account had just gone through. The exact amount? Yep, it matched the price of the handbag Vanessa was flaunting. That was when it hit me like a freight train. Me fiancé, Ryan Mitchell, the boy my parents practically raised as my future husband, had given my supplementary card to Vanessa and was now letting her parade around like she was the fiancé of some billionaire. I could have flipped out right then and there, but instead I smiled and played dumb. "Oh, you're going on a cruise with the class after graduation? Count me in," I said sweetly. She lit up, thinking she'd scored another victory over me, completely unaware that I had already blocked the card the moment I saw that transaction come through. But first, I needed to confirm something. "Did you say you're marrying into the Mitchell family? As in, Ryan Mitchell, the Mitchells of Westbridge?" I asked, tilting my head. Vanessa glanced down at the handbag in her hand and flipped her hair. "Of course. Do you think there are multiple richest families here? Only someone of real status, like me, could ever catch Ryan Mitchell's eye. That bag is pocket change, just something I liked on a whim. I wasn't trying to snatch it from you. I mean, how could you possibly understand? We're not from the same world. Even if I explained it, your brain wouldn't keep up." I bit my tongue so hard I almost tasted blood, gripping my phone like it was the only thing keeping me from throwing the bag in her smug face. "But I heard the Mitchells only have one child and it's a daughter," I said, my tone laced with sugar, but my eyes sharp. Before Vanessa could respond, her trio of followers jumped in with synchronized eye rolls. "That's because they're being low-key, duh," one of them chirped. "It's about safety. If people knew the Mitchells had a son, it'd be dangerous." Another sneered. "You seriously regret not being nicer to Vanessa now, don't you? You missed your shot. She could have changed your whole life." I ignored the background noise and focused on Vanessa again. "So, the engagement party of the century, the Mitchells, through recently you're saying you were the bride-to-be?" Her face twitched, just slightly but enough. "Chill," she snapped. "Yeah, Ryan has a fiancé, but it's just business. He doesn't love her. I'm his real love. That woman means nothing to him." My stomach churned. I was that business fiancé she was talking about. And the worst part? I had actually believed Ryan was loyal, even sweet in his own pathetic way. But now I knew the truth. He was using the credit card I gave him to court another woman, one who treated me like I was gum on the bottom of her Louboutin. Vanessa giggled like she thought I was jealous, which made her even more unbearable. "Don't worry, babe. I'm not petty. Even if we had beef in the past, whatever, water under the bridge. I'm going to be a rich wife now, so I don't have time for grudges. You're officially forgiven." "Oh, how generous of her." The beef, by the way, was that I once marked her tardy for class, which would have affected her barely hanging on GPA. She cornered me later and said, "Sorry, I have a boyfriend who makes me lose track of time. Maybe you wouldn't be so uptight if you had one too." She was clearly talking about Ryan. Now it all made sense. "I'm throwing a graduation cruise," she said with a bright smile. 7 days and nights at sea before I settle down into married life. The whole class is invited, and you can come too. Isn't that nice of me? Every nerve in my body screamed to call the cops or expose them both right then and there. But then I looked at Vanessa, so full of herself, so high on her imaginary pedestal, and I smiled. "Count me in. I'd love to go." In the days leading up to the cruise, I didn't say a word. I played my role perfectly, even attending dinner with Ryan's family to discuss our engagement like nothing was wrong. I was all smiles, even though every moment with them made me want to hurl. The day of the cruise, I arrived at the dock. Just like Vanessa promised, almost the entire class was there, showering her with attention and fake admiration. "Y'all, this must have cost a fortune," someone gasped. "You're insane, Vanessa. I can't believe you chartered this whole thing." Another said, "She's marrying into the Mitchells. This cruise is nothing to her. She could buy the entire ship if she wanted to." I showed up right in the middle of all the praise, and suddenly the temperature dropped. The class monitor, Ashley Moore, narrowed her eyes at me. "What are you doing here? Didn't you always act like you hated Vanessa? Thought she was too flashy for you? Now you're here for a free ride." I ignored her, texting the bank to confirm that the secondary card was officially deactivated. Then I turned to Vanessa. "Didn't you say we were boarding? Why's everyone just standing around?" Vanessa pointed toward the cruise ship. "Well, the balance hasn't been paid yet. I only paid the deposit. The captain needs the full amount before we can board. Someone want to swipe my card just now." That's when the captain came running toward us, card in hand, looking awkward. "Miss Blake, I'm sorry, but this card isn't going through. Could you use a different one?" Vanessa froze, then flipped her hair and tried to play it cool. "What do you mean it's not going through? Try again. I don't carry a dozen cards, okay? This is the one. Do you know who I am? I'm the future daughter-in-law of the Mitchell family. Think before you speak." The classmates gasped in indignation. "What the hell? That card has no limit." "Yeah, it's from the richest family in town. Are you serious right now? If you don't know how to swipe it, get someone who does." The captain looked uncomfortable. Then his eyes met mine. I gave him the smallest shake of my head. He nodded slightly, turned back to the group, and said, "Everyone can board now. We'll handle the card issue later." They all assumed it was because of Vanessa's status. Even she was stunned. "Wow, just saying I'm a Mitchell gets you VIP treatment now." She giggled. The cruise was stunning. She strutted around like a queen, even grabbed the mic on deck and said, "Everyone, go ahead and shop on board. It's all on me. My card's unlimited. Consider this my thank you gift to you all for being with me through college." Everyone cheered. One girl hesitated. "Vanessa, are you sure? Your card didn't work earlier," but Vanessa cut her off. "Ashley, don't kill the vibe. It was a network issue. I literally just spoke to Ryan. If he blocked my card, don't you think I'd know?" They shut up after that. No one wanted to offend her. They partied, shopped, drank like money meant nothing. Vanessa ruled the ship. I stayed quiet, smiling. Just waiting. The cruise went on like some twisted reality show where Vanessa Blake played the spoiled heiress and everyone else acted like her unpaid hype squad, clapping at every ridiculous flex, gassing her up like she was royalty, and following her around like loyal paparazzi, snapping pics for their Instagram stories and hashtagging Vanessa the Queen. And I played the quiet spectator, the one girl they all thought didn't belong, the poor girl. Vanessa had graciously allowed on board out of some fake high road benevolence, which only made it more satisfying when I watched her swipe her way into a $6 million trap with a card that I'd already turned into a piece of plastic, a ticking time bomb waiting to detonate the second we docked. And sure enough, as the cruise finally neared its end and everyone began packing up their overpriced cruise purchases and luxury shopping bags like they were royalty returning from exile, the captain called for everyone to gather on deck for disembarkation. But instead of the usual thank you for sailing speech, he held up the same black card Vanessa had been so proud of and said, "Miss Blake, I'm sorry, but this card still isn't working. We've confirmed with the issuing bank it's been blocked. The charges during this trip total over $6 million, and it needs to be paid in full before anyone can leave." And just like that, the entire vibe shattered like a champagne flute on marble. Someone actually gasped. Others looked at each other in confusion, and Vanessa turned pale instantly, trying to laugh it off, mumbling, "That's impossible. I literally talked to Ryan. This has to be a mistake." But the captain wasn't done. He took out his phone and played a recorded call with the bank's customer service where a polite voice clearly stated the card had been permanently suspended, and I could practically see the panic crawl up Vanessa's spine as she realized this wasn't some glitch she could smooth over with a hair flip and fake confidence. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again like she was rebooting mid-crash, and the classmates who had been shopping like drunken royalty suddenly sobered up real fast. Voices rising all around. "Wait, what do you mean $6 million? Vanessa, you said it was all on you. My parents would kill me if I owed even 1/10 of that. We just graduated, we can't have a criminal record. And the worst part was watching them all turn on her in real time, like a flock of birds shifting direction in an instant, some already crying, others demanding she fix it right now, and Vanessa, bless her delusion, held her chin up and said with shaking hands, "It's fine. I called my husband, he'll be here soon and take care of everything. I promise." And that's when everyone collectively turned their eyes toward the dock, waiting for the mythical fiancé who was supposed to be their golden ticket out of this mess, and 20 minutes later, there he was, stepping onto the ship like a knight in pastel slacks and designer shoes. Ryan Mitchell, looking way too relaxed for someone walking straight into a social and financial bloodbath, and Vanessa, tears welling up like she was in a drama, rushed over to him like a poor man's rom-com heroine and clung to his arm. "Babe, thank God you're here. The card isn't working and everyone's freaking out. It's so embarrassing. I tried to call you earlier." But Ryan's smile froze when he saw the card in the captain's hand and looked closer, then suddenly snapped. "Wait, who told you to use this card? Didn't I already give you money?" And the look on Vanessa's face was priceless, like a little kid caught sneaking candy from the jar. She blinked and whispered, "You said everything you have is mine. Isn't it normal for a husband to give his wife a supplementary card? You were busy and I didn't want to bother you every time I needed money. And I swear if I hadn't been so disgusted, I might have laughed." But then she leaned in and said just loud enough for him to hear, "All my classmates are here if you don't help me out now. It'll be online in seconds. You wouldn't want both of us to be humiliated, right?" And Ryan, realizing the situation was spiraling fast, forced a smile and said, "Of course, babe. I thought I lost the card, that's why I froze it. I'll call the bank right now and unlock it, don't worry." And as he pulled out his phone to make the call, mine rang and I knew immediately who it was, because his eyes met mine like a man seeing a ghost, and the color drained from his face like I'd sucked the life out of him just by existing. What are you doing here?" He choked, and the entire ship went quiet as I walked toward him, calm as ever, looked Vanessa dead in the eye and said, "You never told me your fiancé was Ryan Mitchell. What a coincidence. I'm Emily Carter, Ryan's actual fiancé." And boom, instant chaos. My classmates whispering, gasping, eyes darting between us like they were watching a live episode of Real Housewives, cruise ship edition, and Vanessa stuttered, then snapped, "That can't be true. You're just saying that to humiliate me. I'm the one with the card. I'm the one who met his parents. I'm pregnant with his child." And Ryan's head whipped toward her like she'd slapped him, but before he could say anything, I turned to the crowd and grabbed the mic, my voice steady but sharp. "Let's get something straight. The Mitchell family only has one child. Ryan isn't their son. He's the son of my family's driver. He took my last name because my parents pitted him, raised him like a future son-in-law, and gave him opportunities he never would have had on his own. That card he gave Vanessa? It's mine. The money he spent? Mine. The title of richest family in Westbridge? Mine. He's not some billionaire heir's a leech who used me to create his fake empire." And there was dead silence before people erupted again, now turning on Vanessa with full force. "Wait, you knew about his fiancé? So you were the third party all along?" She literally told everyone she was the main girl, and Vanessa stumbled back like my words had physically hit her, collapsing onto a lounge chair, unable to process the public demolition of her fantasy life, and Ryan turned to me, face pale. "Emily, please, this isn't the time, just help pay off the bill first. We'll talk later." But I shook my head and smiled sweetly. "Oh, I'll pay. But not for you too." And the captain brought over the POS machine. I swiped my own card, signed, and turned to leave, tossing Ryan the keys to the car he'd driven here with a smirk. "You should probably get her to a hospital. She looks unwell." But remember, none of this was free. Not the car, not the card, not the cruise. You've got nothing now. Not even me. And I walked off the ship, head high, heels clicking, leaving behind a trail of shattered illusions and a crowd of stunned faces, while the captain held the rest of the passengers back and said, "Sorry, folks. Miss Carter only paid for herself. The rest of you? 6 million split evenly. Pay up or we call the cops." And I didn't look back, didn't care about the chaos I left behind, because this was only the beginning. I had plans, and watching Ryan and Vanessa's empire of lies collapse under its own weight was just the opening scene of my real story. I didn't even need to stay to watch the mess unravel, because the moment I stepped off that cruise ship, I already knew how the rest of the disaster would play out like a slow-motion train wreck you can't look away from. And just as expected, later that evening, the cruise captain texted me updates with barely contained amusement, telling me that the remaining passenger Sokka, Ryan Mitchell's loyal followers, and Vanessa Blake's ex-fans completely flipped when they realized they were personally responsible for splitting over $6 million worth of cruise bills and luxury expenses, which, when you're a broke college grad still living off your parents' insurance plan, might as well be a death sentence. And one by one they turned on Ryan and Vanessa like wild animals, demanding explanations, yelling about lawsuits, threatening to call the media, some even threatening to call their parents and let them know what their precious babies had been up to during their graduation celebration. And while Ryan tried to play it cool and talk his way out of it, his usual charisma didn't hold up against actual financial ruin, especially not when one of the guys started filming him with tears in his eyes yelling, "Bro, you said it was covered. You said we were family. My mom's gonna kill me if I end up in jail for this." And Vanessa, looking more and more like a ghost bride, tried blaming the bank system, again until someone yelled, "You literally said your man is the richest guy in Westbridge. Where's the money now, Vanessa? Where's your fairy tale?" And when the captain made it clear that no one was leaving until the bill was paid in full, Ryan had no choice but to call his parents Charles and Linda Michalaka, my family's old driver, and his wife, and beg them to come bail him out, which they did. Of course, showing up all flustered and horrified when they found out their son had spent millions of someone else's money and now owed it back in cash. And I was told they had to drain everything they had savings, retirement, even sold some jewelry to come up with enough to cover the remaining bill just to avoid criminal charges. And while they were doing all that, I was sipping espresso in a quiet villa on the other side of the city, watching the sun set like nothing had happened. Because for me, this wasn't just revenge, it was long overdue justice. And I didn't feel an ounce of guilt because they had the nerve to steal from me, lie to me, humiliate me, and think I'd just stand there smiling like a docile little heiress without claws. But I guess they all forgot I'm a Carter, not a side character in their twisted drama. And just as I was finishing my drink and enjoying the silence, who do you think shows up at the villa? That's right, Ryan Mitchell, with his parents trailing behind him and Vanessa looking like she hadn't slept in a week, pale-faced and desperate. And the second he saw me lounging there like the boss I am, he stopped in his tracks and tried to collect himself, but I could tell he was already scrambling to find the right mix of guilt, shame, and pathetic charm. "Emily, I guess you knew everything when you showed up at the boutique, didn't you? That day with the bag you played us." And I didn't deny it, didn't even blink, just raised an eyebrow like, obviously. And then he tried switching tactics, pointing to Vanessa and saying, "You know, she lost the baby, right? She miscarried because of the stress. Everyone's calling her the other woman now, and it's all over the internet. Don't you think you went too far?" And I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing because the audacity of this man was beyond comprehension. He cheats on me, gives another woman my card, builds a fake identity off my name and fortune, and I went too far? But before I could respond, his father Charles cleared his throat and said with fake concern, "Emily, sweetheart, we understand things got out of hand, but let's not make this personal. There's still the issue of the money. Ryan did pay it back, technically. We had to empty out everything we had. That's your money, in a way. Don't you think it's fair for you to reimburse us?" And that's when I actually did laugh. Full on. Like they told me the funniest joke of the decade. "Let me get this straight," I said, standing up slowly. "You want me to pay you back for bailing your con artist son out of a financial disaster he created using my name and my credit card?" And before either of them could answer, Vanessa stepped forward with those watery eyes and said, "Emily, I know you hate me, and you have every right to. But I swear I never knew Ryan was using you. I really thought he was rich. I was dumb, okay? I just wanted someone to care about me. And I was grateful. I really was. I wasn't trying to steal him from you. I loved him. And I wanted to give him a child, to give him something he could call his own. And I have to admit, for half a second, I almost felt bad for her until I remembered her words at the boutique, her arrogance on the cruise, the way she looked down on me thinking I was just some nobody. But what made my blood boil the most was how Ryan turned to me right after that and said, "See? She's not like you. She's simple, pure. She doesn't care about money or power. She just wanted to give me a child. You grew up with everything handed to you, Emily. You don't understand real love." And something inside me snapped right then and there, not out of heartbreak, but out of pure disbelief that he could twist everything and still try to act like he was the victim, like I was some villain for not bowing to his tragic love story. So I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You're right. I don't understand your definition of love. Because where I come from, love isn't stealing, lying, or dragging a woman down just to feel like a man." And then his mom, sweet old Linda, had the audacity to step in and pat my arm like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. "Don't be dramatic, Emily. You're still Ryan's legitimate fiancé. We can work through this. Let the girl go, let her have the baby, and you two can still get married. After all, our families are tied together now. You need each other. Your parents need our Ryan." And I blinked at her like she was speaking in riddles, then coldly replied, "That's funny, because I talked to the board this morning. Ryan's been officially fired from Carter Group. Effective immediately. He no longer has a position, a salary, or any shares. You're free to go build your own empire, just not with my name on it." And that was when the mask cracked, when Ryan finally dropped the fake calm and started shouting, "You can't do that. I built Carter Group with your father. Everyone listens to me. You think you can just cut me out like some disposable intern?" And I smiled, pulling out the house keys and dangling them in front of them. "Oh, and by the way, this villa? This isn't your house anymore. Pack up your things. You've got 30 minutes before security escorts you out." And watching all of them freeze, Vanessa clutching her stomach, Charles looking ready to collapse, Linda sputtering about ungrateful daughters and entitlement, was the sweetest moment of my life, because for the first time, I saw the truth reflected in their eyes. They'd never loved me, respected me, or seen me as anything but a bank account and a stepping stone. And now that I'd cut off the money, the connections, the name, they had nothing left, and I walked away again, this time for good. No guilt, no hesitation, no second thoughts, because this wasn't a break-up, it was a purge, and I wasn't done yet. It wasn't until I was standing at the front entrance of the villa, watching Ryan, Vanessa, and his parents frantically scurry inside to pack up their things like rats after the lights turn on, that it really hit me. This was it. The final unraveling of everything they thought they'd built off my name, my money, my family, and my silence. And the best part was that I didn't need to scream, cry, or throw things to take them down. All I had to do was tell the truth, revoke what was never theirs, and let them watch their delusions crumble in real time. And while they were inside shouting over missing jewelry and accusing each other of hiding luxury handbags and designer watches that were probably gifts I'd bought anyway, I calmly leaned against my car and answered a call from my assistant, who confirmed that Ryan's corporate badge had been deactivated, his company email deleted, and security had already changed the locks on his office door. And just when I was about to hang up, Linda Mitchell came storming out with a face redder than her Chanel lipstick, waving her hands like she was ready to slap someone, yelling, "Emily, those pearls you gave me last Christmas, they're mine. You can't just take back gifts like some spoiled brat. That's theft." And I didn't even flinch, just slid my sunglasses down my nose and replied, "Actually, I have receipts for everything in that house. If you'd like to claim ownership, you're welcome to take it up with my legal team. They've been waiting for a case to warm up with." And just as she opened her mouth again, two uniformed staff members appeared from behind me, one of them holding a clipboard. "Miss Carter, we've packed the Mitchells' belongings and itemized every box. Do you want a review before we load the truck?" And I smiled sweetly. "No need. I trust your judgment. If they argue, they can check the inventory list on their way to the motel." And with that, Linda's mouth hung open so wide I half expected flies to start flying in, while Charles Mitchell came charging out next, huffing like he was about to burst a vein, shouting, "You ungrateful little brat. You think you can throw us out just because you've got some money? Don't forget, your company wouldn't be where it is without Ryan. He's the real brains behind your daddy's success." And I burst out laughing because the sheer delusion was unreal. Like, did this man forget his son was literally a glorified trophy fiancé who spent more time shopping than in boardrooms? "Mr. Mitchell," I said coolly, "let me break it down for you in case the air up in your fantasy land has made it hard to breathe. Ryan got where he was because of my father's pity, my mother's kindness, and my family's money. He's never closed a deal on his own, never led a project, and never written a single proposal that wasn't ghostwritten by someone else. He was a placeholder with a title, nothing more. The only thing your son managed to do successfully was cheat, lie, and spend." Charles looked like he wanted to hit me, but I didn't give him the satisfaction of reacting. "Also," I added, "please remember, I'm not the emotional teenager you all manipulated anymore. I'm an adult. I run the company now. You mess with me, I'll make sure the only job Ryan ever gets again is scrubbing cruise ship toilets if he's lucky. Before Charles could scream back, Vanessa finally emerged, her hair a mess, her eyeliner smudged, looking like a tragic character from a low-budget soap opera, clutching her stomach and whispering dramatically, "Emily, don't do this, I'm pregnant, I don't care about the money. I really don't, I'll leave Ryan. I'll disappear, just please help me." And that was the final straw, the cherry on this pathetic cake of lies and self-pity. Because now she wanted to play the martyr, the misunderstood mistress who only wanted love, but I wasn't having it. Not after she gleefully paraded my card, my name, and my status like a trophy for weeks. Not after she insulted me, humiliated me, and then dared to act like I owed her sympathy. So I straightened my posture, stepped forward, and said in the coldest tone I'd ever used, "Vanessa, I warned you before, Westbridge's wealthiest family only has one daughter. That daughter is me. The man you chased was never part of that family. You wanted to play rich? You wanted to steal? Then enjoy the consequences. I won't lift a single finger to save you, not because I hate you, but because you chose this. And I won't rescue someone who knew she was destroying another woman's life, and did it anyway." She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out, just silent gasps as she blinked rapidly like it would stop the tears, and Ryan finally emerged with 2 suitcases, rage simmering under his breath, muttering, "You think this is over, Emily? You think you won? Just because you've got power now doesn't mean you'll keep it. Don't forget, the business world is cold. And when you fall in, you will, no one's going to catch you." And I smiled, walking past him slowly, heels clicking on the stone driveway like the sound of victory itself, and whispered back, "Oh, Ryan, I don't need anyone to catch me. Because, unlike you, I never needed to pretend to fly. Ivy had wings all along. And I didn't look back, not when they started yelling, not when Linda screamed something about curses and karma, not when Charles threw a tantrum about calling his lawyer, because I had already won the moment they realized they couldn't manipulate me anymore. And that night, I slept like a baby in my downtown penthouse with a glass of champagne in my hand and the city lights twinkling like stars, made just for me." While the group chat from our college class exploded with drama as the cruise ship gossip leaked online videos of Ryan being shouted at, Vanessa crying, classmates begging not to be arrested, and my name trending on every platform as the mystery heiress who saved the day. And sure, I didn't post anything, didn't comment or clarify, but trust me, I was watching every single meltdown, every panic post, every bitter remark from people who used to mock me, and I didn't feel bad at all, not when I was finally free from the chains of a fake relationship, fake friends, and a fake narrative. And just when I thought things would finally calm down, my parents called me, not with guilt or anger, but with an unexpected tone of sincerity and even apology, saying they had finally realized that no matter how carefully you raise someone, you can't change what they really are. And after what Ryan did, they agreed it was time for me to step up, not just as the daughter of the Carter family, but as the new CEO. The woman who would carry everything forward on her own terms, and I felt something shift inside me, something solid and unbreakable, because I wasn't just going to inherit a legacy, I was going to build my own, from the ashes of betrayal, with no apologies and no looking back. I used to think healing would be slow, something quiet and soft, like yoga retreats or journaling under the moon, but after everything Ryan Mitchell and Vanessa Blake put me through, I realized healing looks a lot more like reclaiming power, cutting dead weight, and walking into the Carter Group headquarters wearing heels that echo through the marble halls like a warning siren. Emily Carter isn't the quiet daughter anymore. She's the boss now. And if you're not ready to deal with that, the exit's clearly marked, and I'd be lying if I said stepping into that executive suite for the first time since Ryan was fired didn't feel surreal, because for so long I stood in his shadow while he played the part of golden boy, charming the board, shaking hands, pretending to lead while using every idea I whispered to him behind closed doors like they were his own. And now those same board members stood when I entered, not out of pity or protocol, but out of pure respect, because they saw the truth. Now they saw who really kept this empire afloat, who wrote the strategy reports, who predicted the market moves, who dealt with the mess Ryan left behind. And while they might not have admitted it before, no one questioned it anymore. Emily Carter wasn't just the heir. She was the heartbeat, and they were damn lucky I didn't dismantle the whole thing and start fresh with a name of my own. And of course there were whispers, people watching closely to see if I'd fail, if I'd crumble without a man beside me to hold the pen or sign the checks. But I welcomed it, because every doubt thrown at me was fuel. Every side eye was proof that I was doing something they weren't ready for, a woman who didn't just survive betrayal, but turned it into her origin story. And while I was rebuilding everything Ryan tried to steal, he was out there burning bridges faster than he could beg for sympathy, jobless, connectionless, and slowly becoming persona non grata in the business world, especially after Vanessa pulled her final stunt, going live on social media with red eyes and a dramatic sob story about being used by a man who promised her everything, holding up ultrasound pictures 1 minute and shredding them the next, flipping from victim to vixen in under 30 seconds. And while most of the internet laughed it off as attention-seeking nonsense, a surprising number of people actually sent her sympathy money, sponsors even, and before I knew it, she'd launched a YouTube channel called The Sober Mistress, sharing her healing journey and capitalizing off the chaos she caused. And I'll admit, for a brief moment, I was annoyed, like, how can someone this shameless continue profiting off pain she caused? But then I realized something deeper, something sharper. People like Vanessa don't stop, they just evolve, always chasing the next handout, the next audience, the next victim, and the best revenge isn't exposing them, it's ignoring them completely, because the second I engaged, I'd be validating her delusion that she was still relevant to me. So I didn't comment, didn't post, didn't even send a cease and desist when she mentioned my name in thinly veiled references, because honestly, she was doing a fantastic job destroying herself just fine. And Ryan? He wasn't handling it with nearly the same flair. Spiraled hard, calling me over 100 times in a week, showing up at events he wasn't invited to, trying to corner my parents at charity galas and beg for another chance, blaming Vanessa, blaming me, blaming his childhood, his insecurities, even his horoscope at one point, and each time, he got the same response. Silence, because I didn't know him closure. I didn't know him anything except the consequence of his own actions. And as weeks passed and the dust settled, my name became synonymous with resilience. Industry publications dubbed me the ice heiress who reclaimed her throne. Interns whispered about me like I was a legend, and even my high school classmates who once treated me like a quiet bookworm now sent friend requests and requests for investments, and while I ignored most of them, I accepted one from Jessica Lee, the only girl who had ever defended me in college, when Vanessa tried to humiliate me in front of the class over a late attendance mark, and she ended up becoming my new assistant, sharp, loyal, and ruthless in heels, and together we started restructuring the company from the inside out, cutting loose the leeches Ryan planted, promoting the people who were overlooked, and investing in projects that actually mattered, not just the flashy showpieces Ryan used to prop up his ego. And with every success, every new headline about Carter Group's rise under the only daughter, I felt lighter, freer, more grounded in who I really was. But just when I thought the chapter had finally closed, Ryan showed up again, this time not at my office, not at my home, but outside a charity event hosted by my parents, dressed in a wrinkled suit, eyes hollow, and without Vanessa by his side. And as I stepped onto the red carpet, he moved from the shadows, blocking my path with a trembling voice. "Emily, please just hear me out. 1 minute, that's all I ask." And before security could intervene, I raised my hand, because honestly, I was curious how far he'd fallen, curious what version of the truth he'd try to sell this time. And he looked at me with a face that no longer held arrogance, just pure desperation. "I have nothing left." "She took everything, me money, my reputation, even the sympathy. I thought you'd destroy me, but you didn't have to. I destroyed myself. And I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to say, I loved you. I really did. I didn't know how to be the man you deserved." And I stared at him, not with hate, not even anger, but something colder, indifference, because that's what happens when the person who once made your world tremble becomes just another shadow on the sidewalk. And I said quietly, "You loved me? Then why did you betray me with the first girl who smiled at you? Why did you use my name to lie, steal, and fake your way through life?"
"You didn't love me, Ryan.
"You loved the version of me who stayed quiet while you took everything. And that version? She doesn't exist anymore." And I walked past him, heels slicing through the silence like a blade, while he stood there frozen, like the ghost of a chapter long closed. And I didn't look back, because real healing isn't about seeing your enemies suffer, it's about knowing you no longer care if they do. They say revenge is sweet, but healing is sweeter, and honestly, I used to think that was just a pretty quote people share to sound wise online. But now, standing at the top floor of Carter Group's headquarters, Looking out at the skyline of Westbridge glittering beneath me like a crown I earned not inherited, I finally understood it. Because this wasn't just the end of a love story gone wrong or a messy betrayal between a fiancé and his mistress. It was the full-circle rebirth of a woman who was never supposed to be the main character in her own story, but made herself the protagonist anyway. And in the months that followed my final conversation with Ryan Mitchell outside that gala, life didn't just go, oh, it blossomed beautifully, chaotically, and unapologetically mine. And while the world moved forward, Ryan faded, bit by bit, like a bad rumor that loses power the longer people stop repeating it. And Vanessa Blake? She clung to her 15 minutes of fame like a drowning girl clutches driftwood, trying everything: collabs, podcast appearances, brand deals that went sour within days, and eventually a tell-all memoir filled with fictionalized stories that even her fans didn't buy. And the internet, with its brutal memory, turned on her too. And last I heard, she moved to a different city and rebranded as a feminine energy coach. Whatever that meant, but I didn't check in, didn't care, because I was too busy building, too busy becoming the kind of woman who didn't flinch when her past knocked, who didn't panic at whispers, who didn't need validation from anyone except the girl she used to beta, one who gave her heart too freely, forgave too quickly, and sacrificed too much in the name of love. But I forgave her because she got me here, and the best part was that for once, I wasn't alone in any of it. Because after years of being surrounded by people who only wanted what I could offer, I started attracting those who respected what I could be, people like Jessica Lee, who quickly rose to become my right hand, people like the interns who looked up to me not for my last name, but for my presence, my decisiveness, my refusal to be quiet when the room got uncomfortable, and even my parents, who once gently pushed Ryan into my life thinking he would be my shield, now stood behind me like a wall of steel, fully trusting me to carry the Carter legacy and never once asking if I missed him. Because we all knew I didn't. I missed who I thought he was, but not who he actually became. And as for love, I didn't chase it, didn't date for optics or to prove some point that I was over everything. I lived simply, powerfully, and somewhere along the way, I found it not in some grand romantic gesture or viral storybook proposal, but in quiet mornings where someone made coffee exactly how I liked it, in late-night strategy meetings that turned into shared laughter, in mutual respect, accountability, and a kind of partnership that didn't demand shrinking. And no, it wasn't Ryan. It was someone who knew the whole story and never once tried to rewrite it. Someone who didn't see me as broken or intimidating, but as a storm they were proud to walk beside. And I won't name him here because this story was never about him. It was about me, about learning to stop performing perfection and start embracing truth. And truth is, Ryan taught me exactly what kind of love I never want again. And Vanessa taught me exactly how powerful a woman becomes the moment she decides to stop proving herself to people who will never be satisfied. And sometimes I still get messages from former classmates or acquaintances, people asking if I ever regret going public with a scandal, if I ever wished I stayed quiet, protected the family name, avoided the spectacle, and every time I just smile. Because if I hadn't exposed the truth, if I hadn't taken that cruise, if I hadn't followed the thread back to the betrayal, then Ryan would still be smiling next to me in pictures. Vanessa would still be playing innocent in designer heels I paid for, and I would still be sleeping beside a man who secretly resented the fact that I shined brighter than him. So no, I don't regret any of it, because burning it all down was the only way I could rebuild. And as cliché as it sounds, sometimes you really do have to lose everything to realize you were carrying things that were never meant for you anyway. And so I kept walking forward, never chasing, never begging, just becoming. And when the next challenge came, and of course it did, because power always attracts storms, I was ready, not because I had something to prove, but because I finally believed I was enough, not as someone's daughter, not as someone's fiancé, not as a placeholder in someone else's fairy tale, but as Emily Carter, the woman who once stood silently in the background and now writes the story herself. And if you're reading this, wondering when it's your turn, wondering if you'll ever get justice or closure or a single damn apology, let me say this. You don't need their sorry. You don't need their permission. You don't even need their recognition. All you need is the decision to stop waiting and start reclaiming, because the world will keep handing you roles until you finally throw the script away and improvise your own ending. And when you do, trust me, it's going to be messy, painful, glorious, and completely worth it.